Hello YouTube, it's me Fortmaster, and welcome to a new reaction. And this is a suggestion that I got after I put into the thumbnail of one of my previous reactions complaining about why Kutzgazart always seems to like change the title and thumbnail of their videos most often just after I've recorded a reaction to them. But yeah. Clickbait is unreasonably effective by Veritasium. This was suggested by Fangria. Yeah, I know clickbait is effective. And I've always flip-flopped on trying to use it on my videos. But I mean, there's the whole idea of one, I don't know if I'd be any good at it. The few times I've tried doing it in the past, it didn't really seem to work. But also just like the ethics of it, as just, I kind of feel a little icky trying to use it as the thing. So we're gonna be watching this and gonna see if he, this Veritasium kind of goes into, if he goes into how it works or something. It's just, and maybe I could learn how to use it a bit. I don't know. So yeah, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Can I tell you something I'm bad at?
Okay.
I am terrible at making clickbait.
Amen.
Up until 2 years ago, my most popular video was about a basketball being dropped from a dam with a bit of backspin. It takes off like a rocket and shoots out way further than you'd expect. This video was embedded on literally hundreds of news websites, and in its first week, it got 16.3 million views.
Jeez, I wish.
But almost none of those views came on the YouTube platform. Why? Because I gave it this thumbnail, and I called it Strange Applications of the Magnus Effect. This video is sponsored by KiwiCo.
I mean, I guess, yeah, okay, even I would think that's kind of, yeah, that's a little too on point.
More about them at the end of the show. Now, I believe within YouTube, I'm used as an example of how not to package your video. As if to demonstrate just how bad a title and thumbnail this is, someone else re-uploaded the video with the clever title, Basketball Dropped from Dam. And within a few weeks, that video had received tens of millions of views on YouTube. This is when YouTube gave me access to Content ID. That's the system that allows you to earn revenue when someone else re-uploads your videos, which was good, but I still wasn't very good at clickbait. So for this video, I called in an expert.
I wanted to see your reaction face. Can you give me
like a
Mr.
reaction Beast, face? Of course.
Thumbnail face?
Oh, I got you. This is the thumbnail face.
Actually, in the last couple of weeks, actually, how old is this video? 2 years, okay. But yeah, in the last couple of weeks, YouTube has apparently been starting to roll out this feature where you can upload 2 versions of a thumbnail and it will tell you which one it does better. And apparently with Mr. Beast, his videos do better when he has a closed mouth. So apparently he's been going back and they've been redoing all of his thumbnails for him to have like a closed mouth, which a lot of them look really weird because he's like this and his like jaw slightly like out of proportion or out of shape because he's like, or something like that. It's like really weird.
I have like 10 I go through the motions of, like, and then we just pick the best one. I probably have like 500 of these just saved and we could just Photoshop my face on my face. So I don't really have to do it anymore.
When I started on this platform some 10 years ago, clickbait was less important. Subscribers were what mattered because most of the views came from the subfeed, and videos went viral usually by getting a lot of attention elsewhere, like on Reddit or Facebook, not due to the YouTube algorithm.
I miss those days.
But once you had a big video and people subscribed, well then your next video would likely get a lot of views from those subscribers. So YouTube would take that popular video and share it with more people, and so you'd get more subscribers in a positive feedback loop. But soon YouTube realized that this did not create the best experience for the viewer. They discovered that showing people only videos from channels they were subscribed to led to fewer clicks, less watch time, and less engagement with the site as a whole. Plus, they knew that relying on other platforms to drive traffic to viral hits was risky, since those other platforms might disable the traffic at any time.
Yeah.
So they needed to make YouTube a destination in itself. They wanted people to come to YouTube, see videos that interested them, click on at least one of them, and watch it for a while. Ideally, get sucked down the YouTube rabbit hole and spend hours on the site without even
YouTube
noticing.
black hole, yeah, that's very accurate.
The ultimate resource is people's time and attention, and every platform is trying to capture as much of it as possible. So to make YouTube this go-to destination, they had to decrease the importance of subscribers, make it less like a podcast app where you only get the shows you're subscribed to, and more like Reddit, where stuff with the most engagement rises to the top. But that necessarily meant increasing the importance of clickbait. Now, there seems to be a paradox when it comes to clickbait. People almost universally claim to hate it, but you also see it everywhere. So why is this? Well, one of the problems is we don't all agree on the definition of clickbait. When I Google it, the top definition is, on the internet, content whose main purpose is to attract attention and encourage visitors to click on a link to a particular web page. We could call this type 1 clickbait. And there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. I mean, if you didn't try to attract attention and get people to click on your links, then you wouldn't really be doing your job.
Well, by that logic, really, clickbait, I guess type 1 clickbait in this instance, wouldn't really be clickbait as everybody else generally understands it. That's just trying to attract attention. I mean, clickbait, by the negative connotation, is much more like having said, like, attraction to the video or whatever it is be somewhat falsified and not entirely representative of what the actual product is.
But there is a second definition, one that I think more people ascribe to, which is something such as a headline designed to make readers want to click on a hyperlink, especially when the link leads to content of dubious value or interest.
Yeah, that too.
Wikipedia says a defining characteristic of clickbait is that it is sensationalized or misleading. And it also talks about teasers that intentionally withhold information to exploit the curiosity gap. They give you enough information to make you curious, but not enough to satisfy that curiosity. Here are two actual titles from a news website. 9 out of 10 Americans are completely wrong about this mind-blowing fact.
Yeah, being vague in several different ways.
And someone gave some kids some scissors. Here's what happened next.
Oh God, I hate those.
I think we can all agree that these are examples of bad type 2 clickbait. Now imagine a clickbait space where on one axis you have how...
Okay, wait, is he literally, I'm just looking, is he literally going to be doing this entire video on a ladder? And also, I can't tell at this point, are the presentation things he's showing, are these still being projected on the wall? Or is this gone like CGI and he's just sort of like planted there now?
Misleading or sensationalized it is, and on the other, how much information is intentionally withheld to create a curiosity gap. Well, then these two titles fall in
Never mind, it is actually being presented.
And these are the
projected
zones of type 2 clickbait. At the other extreme, you have things that are so unsensationalized as to be dull. You could call this the dead zone. Now here is where you would find strange applications of the Magnus effect. I mean, I didn't tell you what the applications were. Now in the middle is where you would find type 1 clickbait. But honestly, I think type 1 and type 2 clickbait are so different that we shouldn't even use the same word for them.
Yeah,
Instead
exactly.
of type 1 clickbait, my friend and YouTuber Brady Heron suggested legit bait. I mean,
Legit
it might sound
bait, yeah.
enticing, but it is legit.
Yeah, that...
Instead of type 2 clickbait, we could use click trap, click trick, link trap, or dupe shoot. What's important to recognize is that for any given video, there is no one true title and thumbnail. Each video could have hundreds or thousands of different legit bait titles. For example, how does a zero-G plane work? I went on a plane that does parabolic trajectories. What happens to fire on a zero-G plane? Now, the most enticing titles and thumbnails are found close to type 2 clickbait.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the infographic by Smarter Every Day showing that on social media, the greatest engagement occurs close to the boundary of what's allowable. But remember that everyone's definition of clickbait is different, and everyone's perceptions of words and images are different. So these are not clear boundaries, they're actually kind of fuzzy.
Yeah.
What for one person might be legit bait, for someone else could be a click trap. What's clear is that on a site where click-through rate is important, clickbait of all types is inevitable.
How important to a video's success is the title and thumbnail?
Very important, of course. If they don't click on the video, they don't watch it. You can't get 10 million views unless 10 million people click on the video.
Or
So
5 million click on it twice. I don't think that's how that actually works.
I mean, it's literally that simple. If they don't click on it, they don't watch it.
So why is clickbait everywhere? Well, because it works. More enticing thumbnails get more clicks, despite some people's claims that they won't click or they'll unsub. It's just like evolution. Whatever survives multiplies, and traits become amplified. If you don't begrudge the giraffe its long neck so it can reach the highest leaves, can you begrudge a YouTuber the big red arrow that allows them to reach further audiences? I talked about this in my video 2 years ago. To be successful as a YouTuber, you need to optimize 2 things: watch time and the click-through rate of your videos. That's the number of times the title and thumbnail are clicked divided by the total number of times they're shown. That's the number of impressions. Now, at the time, this was something of a revelation for me, because I always thought my job was to make great videos, and then a title and thumbnail that adequately represented what the video was about.
Yeah.
But now I've realized that making the title and thumbnail is at least half the job. This is not just because better titles and thumbnails get you more clicks, but because better titles and thumbnails will get you way more impressions. YouTube has limited real estate with which to show you virtually infinite content. And so it's not enough to make a good video, even if people watch all of it. You also have to make a title and thumbnail that gets clicked, especially in competition with other really good titles and thumbnails. That's the only way you can expect YouTube to give you more impressions. Now, the big development since my last video on this is YouTube introduced real-time metrics like views, impressions, and click-through rate. And I suggested this would create
I know
an
those
arms
very
race.
well.
So what you can bet will happen is that creators will launch a video and then they'll be sitting there with all these different variants of thumbnails and they'll be swapping them out and looking at what that does to click-through rate and then going with the one that leads to the greatest click-through rate.
And this is basically what has happened.
Yeah.
Let me give you my favorite example. Last year, I made a video about asteroids, which I thought was really good. I called it Asteroids, Earth's Biggest Threat, which is something Stephen Hawking said. And people were very positive about the video. They thought it was maybe one of my best. But the performance was well below average. In its first day, Asteroids was ranked 9th out of my previous 10 videos. It was probably on target for about 1.5 million views. So I tried different titles and thumbnails like Asteroid Impact, What Are Our Chances? Or Asteroid Impact, What Could We Do? But none of these changes got much traction. And then on day 3 after launch, I changed the title and thumbnail to These Are the Asteroids to Worry About. And immediately, the video started doing better. It quickly shot up from almost my worst performing video to my best. It now has 14 million views. Nothing about the video changed, just that one image and 38 characters. But because of that, the video has reached nearly 10 times as many people as it otherwise would have. And the title and thumbnail accurately describe what the video is about. I mean, sure, there's a curiosity gap, but you couldn't explain the whole concept in the length of the title. So if you see a YouTuber changing titles and thumbnails, this is why. Because that effort can be rewarded many times over. I've seen people objecting to this practice because they think the creator is trying to dupe their audience, get them to click on the same video more than once, but that's not it. The whole point is to get YouTube to show the title and thumbnail to more people. We're trying to increase the number of impressions, which is heavily dependent on the click-through rate. Now, a lot of my recent videos have this typical view curve. There's an initial spike after I release the video, and then a dip, and then a second bump after I have figured out a better title and thumbnail. I change the title and thumbnail and I watch the real-time view graph. What I'm looking for is a noticeable bump in views. Sometimes there's no change, sometimes it gets worse, but on occasions when you see something like this, well then you know you've found a winner. This is something all the big YouTubers are doing. Not even MrBeast knows exactly which thumbnail will work best beforehand.
Have you ever changed a title and thumbnail and then the video did better?
Again, all this says is that YouTube put out that feature where you can upload multiple thumbnails on a video at once. They did it for a purpose. When I first initially heard this, I thought, huh, okay, that's kind of a weird feature. But now that I'm seeing like all this, it's just like, yeah, they're like a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Of course they know what they're doing. Ugh.
Oh, of course. So every video I usually make like 2 or 3 thumbnails, and then if it's not doing as well as I want, we usually just swap them out and see if it does better. The thing is, like, you don't really know. I mean, you could know if you just were an almighty being that could just predict what people would be interested in. But usually, like, if you do hide and seek, you don't really know if like you hiding in a tree and then someone walking below you is a good thumbnail, or if you hiding in a trash can and then walking in front of you. So just do both and then see which one interests people a little bit more.
I feel the same way, but I do feel like you have a better sense of this than like most people.
Of course. I mean, no one gets 40 million views a video.
Yeah.
But what is the point in getting more views? If you're cynical, you might say it's all about money and fame. And while there are certainly financial incentives to getting more views, that's not why I do it. As an educational YouTuber, I think there are 2 very good reasons for using excellent Type 1 clickbait over more straightforward packaging. To understand the first reason, let's consider 2 different possible titles for my most recent video. I called it The Simplest Math Problem No One Can Solve. But it's a video about the Collatz conjecture, so perhaps a more straightforward title would have been simply to call it that. The problem is, if I publish a video called The Collatz Conjecture, the most likely people to click on it
Are people who already know what it is. Okay.
are those who already know what the Collatz conjecture is. And the vast majority of people will never have heard of it. So for them, the title is meaningless, and only the very curious or those who really like Veritasium would click. In contrast, calling it The Simplest Math Problem No One Can Solve conveys more information about the video to everyone. And this means more people can click on it, most of whom will never have heard of the Collatz conjecture, so I get to teach them something new. And since the video has a higher click-through rate, YouTube shows it to even more people.
And more people end up learning about it.
If my aim is to increase the level of knowledge in the world by the maximum amount possible, this is the way to do it. The second reason we need to optimize titles and thumbnails is to support the major goal of this channel. We are trying to make the best science films on every topic we tackle. That means traveling to meet experts and film experiments, hiring people to build props, make
and all of that stuff
animations,
costs money.
research and fact
Everything
check.
costs
We
money.
hire expert consultants to double and triple check our work. I don't want to make vlogs. I want to make science documentaries on YouTube that put broadcast to shame. And to make this possible and sustainable, the videos have to get views.
A lot of
and lots
views,
of them. And to do that, we have to make the best titles and thumbnails we can. YouTuber and Patreon CEO Jack Conte has talked about adjusting your packaging. The idea is know what you're passionate about, what you won't compromise on, and that stuff goes in the box. All the rest, like what paper it's wrapped in, that's the packaging. So the video is my focus, and the title and thumbnail are the packaging that I'm happy to adjust so I can make the type of videos that are important to me. Now, is it ironic that a channel whose whole purpose is to promote a truth-seeking mindset has to experiment at the edge of what is truthful in order to fulfill that purpose? It is something that I often worry about.
Yeah.
When I did like risking my life to do X, it's like, well, what probability of death does there have to be for you to risk your life? Like 50%?
I love how he always overthinks things. That's funny. He's like, is my life risked enough where I risk my life? I only had a 9% chance of dying, and I need at least a 13% chance. He is so funny. He was the same way 2 years ago when he asked me all this stuff. I was like, dude, just do whatever makes the most sense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I feel like my instincts are not good.
But what I realized is that I don't have to trust my instincts. This problem of getting the best title and thumbnail, it's a scientific problem. We're just asking which accurate representation of the video will get the most clicks from a general audience.
Yeah.
And that's a problem we can use the scientific method to solve. So I've hired a couple of really bright people, and we spend a lot of time brainstorming and making titles and thumbnails and testing them out. For example, on Twitter and Patreon.
Okay.
Veritasium titles and thumbnails have gotten better, not because I'm better at it, but because of my team and our testing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I'll go into this later after the video is done.
If you have ideas about how we could do it better, please get in touch. The results have often contradicted what I expected. I mean, this video seemed to perform 10% better, when we excluded the word surprising from the title, so it became simply The Secret of Synchronization. I thought these two titles were basically a toss-up, but Patreon had a strong preference for one over the other. What's interesting about this research is that the more clickable titles and thumbnails often better represent the content of the video. Let me give you some examples. You know, one thing I didn't expect when YouTube brought in the real-time analytics tools and allowed title and thumbnail changes to affect impressions was that it would also work for older videos. So here is an old video that I originally entitled, "Why the Neutron is the Hero of Nuclear Physics." In hindsight, it's a weird, kind of meaningless title. So I changed it to "Why Einstein Thought Nuclear Weapons Impossible." It's clearer, more accurate, and this is what happened to views after the change. I changed "Strange Applications of the Magnus Effect" to "Backspin Basketball Flies Off Dam." Again, more accurate, and the video is now being watched on YouTube. Probably 10 million more views than it otherwise would have had. Even anti-clickbait has proven effective. Here's a video I originally titled, "Are Negative Ions Good for You?" which is a question nobody asked ever.
Yeah.
Now I changed it to "Do Salt Lamps Work?"
No.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And here's the result. 1.5 million more views. I think looking at these examples, you could easily make the case that YouTube has made me better at what I do. It has improved the clarity and accuracy of my titles and thumbnails. It's helped me figure out what is interesting to my audience and how to encapsulate that in a single image in fewer than 50 characters. For those of you who worry that a focus on titles and thumbnails will prevent me from picking challenging science topics, well, I simply ask you to look at the videos from the last year or two, like the ones on Gödel's incompleteness theorem, general relativity, Penrose tilings, the logistic map, Newton's method of calculating pi, the one-way speed of light. Good titles and thumbnails make it possible to tackle these topics and to reach more people who have never heard of them before.
Oh, yeah.
There is a symbiotic relationship between views and video quality. The more views we get, the more people, locations, props, and equipment and research we can invest in. This makes the next video better than the last. If we can be good at titles and thumbnails, the ultimate outcome is better videos. That is something I think you and I both want.
Hey, this video is sponsored by...
I mean, it's stuff like this that, I know this wouldn't be the same for everybody, but for me at least, it does make me feel a little dejected. I mean, like, I know at the current rate, I'm never going to make a living off of YouTube. I probably make some, you know, little money off the side, but never be like a big player, never be able to like pay the bills, so to speak. And it's stuff like this with like clickbait, having multiple like thumbnails and stuff like that. I mean, like for me, I'll let you in on a secret. Like 90% of the time, the thumbnail of the video was like made within like 2 or 3 hours of the video actually going live. And it's just the whole fact that like all these people, they have literal teams of people that do this. Like even like the people that don't go after the sort of stuff like Markiplier, for example. Like I know whenever Markiplier like uploads a video, he hasn't uploaded the most regularly in the last little while, but that's because, you know, he's making a movie based on Iron Lung right now. But even he has like several editors working for him at the very least. Like for small YouTubers like me, actually, wait, what is my current impressions like? We'll do a little behind the scenes thing right here. So an overview, this is yada, content, impressions. Yeah, so I mean, seeing like this, and it's just like I know I should really, you know, try to do better, but at the same time, it's like seeing people with like Mr. Beast and like these other big YouTubers have literal teams of people working for them, where they have like just the actual resources needed to have several people working for them whose literal job it is to just do this stuff and to like make several thumbnails and like have them uploaded and like to see which ones are actually working and all this stuff. It's like it's like, it's hard not to feel a little dejected at times. I mean, just like that whole thing where he was talking about like how in the beginning of YouTube, it was more about like subscribers and like it was like a feedback loop, and like, granted, I can understand, like, for the health of the website, you would want to get it so that it's more of like an enclosed, like, self-sustaining ecosystem rather than having to basically rely on external sources for traffic. But it kind of goes to the whole thing where, like, a little while back, how like Jacksepticeye had said something on like a lie detector about how he felt like Mr. Beast had ruined like YouTube and stuff like that, and like, nah, but at the same time, it's just like, it's getting, you can't help but feel that it gets to the point sometimes where like, it feels like if you want to get big, you either have to get really lucky or you already have to start with a head start versus everybody else. It's just, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, admittedly, that's part of the reason why I started doing reactions in the first place. I had been uploading for close to 5 years before I started doing reactions, and I had flip-flopped on doing reactions and stuff, and it's just, I mean, I'm doing them now, and I like doing them. I like seeing numbers go up, so but yeah, I mean but all that aside, that was a very good video, and I do like seeing people actually like talk about this stuff, just because someone like me, there's a very real chance I never would have gotten my head around it. So yeah, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will be leading to my Let's Play of the day, and with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.